Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Does What It Says with part 2 of how to re-grease and re-oil the MJX 14301, 14302 and 14304. They're all extremely similar, so let's not mess around. We know what part 1 is about, so let's just get stuck straight in. So what we're going to do is, if you look down between these two shocks, you've got 4 screws. It's the 2 closest screws to the bodywork. And then you want to undo those 2 screws, and then on the underside it's the 2 closest screws to the front bumper. So get your pot ready, undo these 2 on the bottom first. 1, 2. Turn it over. And the 2 closest to the body, you want to undo them 2 screws. And once you've done that, the whole end should just drop straight off. Get the last screw out, pull the front end off. Job done. Now it's these front 2 screws, not these 2, this one here and this one here, leave them alone because you don't have to undo them. It's just these front 2. So you undo them, screw them back in a little bit so you don't lose them, and just put the front end to one side. Next up, you want to remove the 2 shocks. So same as normal, same as the other video what I've told you, good practice. Take the screws out, put them back in the holes so you don't lose the screws. So get these front 2 shocks off, put all the screws back in the holes, and you should end up with something looking a bit like this. All 4 screws back in where they should be, where the shocks were. You can't lose them, and you've got the correct screws in the right places. Perfect. Right, now what we want to do is we want to go to the PH2 on a small screwdriver, get the PH2 sides out, just like part 1. And you want to take that screw again. So I have a little bit of trouble getting this one off, but using the correct bit actually helps out loads. You can see I struggle a little bit. I put quite a bit of pressure on this and it does come off. I do appreciate some guys will have a little bit more difficulty getting this screw out, but if you do use a PH2, you probably will stand a little bit more of a chance of getting it out without stripping anything. So once you've got that out, you've got the 4 smaller screws as well. Just put that in your tub. So what I'm doing first is, along with the 4 smaller screws, I'm taking out the top left pin from that suspension arm. You only need to drop one of these out because the other one will slide off and stay in the tower. So once you've got one out, undo the other 4 small screws, which you should be familiar with. And once you've done these 4 small screws, the whole tower should just pull straight off. I'll quickly show you. I've taken the bottom 2 screws out of the tower, and I've taken one of the pins. See that one there? That's gone. The other one's left in still. So remove the last 2 screws, and that should be the tower loose, ready to come off. Get the last screw off, and it's just fall off. And you'll see what I mean by the last pin just pulls straight out. So same as normal, guys, get that pin, stick it back in the other hole. Just again, just good practice. Put that to one side. Unless obviously you're upgrading it, then you can get your hopped up upgrade when you put it all back together and just change the parts over. Anyway, there's 2 screws holding the body mount on this, one either side. We're going to undo those, get both of those off. You can leave the screws in here and just put it to one side. And then on the bottom suspension strut, you've got 2 metal pins that are holding the suspension arms in. One here, just pull that out, and then one this side, pull that out. Put them to one side. And now what you're left with is 2 small screws, which are in the actual steering mechanism. So you've got one just there on these steering rods, end of these steering rods. Undo both of these, one on this side, and the whole assemble comes off. I'm going to leave this screw exactly where it is and just put that assembly over to one side where it's not going to get knocked. Do exactly the same on the right hand side one. Undo the screw, leave it in, put it to one side safely, because it will fall out, guys, so just make sure you do put it somewhere safe. Now you want to spin the whole thing over, and you've got 4 small screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they basically hold the differential housing together. So you want to take these 4 screws out. There's a couple of screws on the other side still, and a couple on the underside still, but these 4 screws, we'll take these ones out next. And once you've got all 4 of these out, there's 2 screws either side of the support bar, just in front of the gyro. 1, 2. I'm going to remove both of those completely. And then there's 2 more screws on the other side. So spin it over, and then remove this screw. And this screw. That's it. That's all you need to remove. Then spin it back over, and that strut which is in there, that should just slide out, and the best direction is to the right hand side, so it won't go left. If you pull it to the right hand side, it will just pop straight out. That's left. Try and take it to the right, straight out. But the strut and housing are 2 different parts, guys, so if you just give it a little bit of a tap, it'll just drop off. And you get both them bits, put them to one side, job done. So that's your differential exposed. If you've seen part 1, it shows you how to strip it all down, take it all apart, clean it all up, and put it all back together again in the correct order, and re-oil it all. So if you pop back over to part 1 if you haven't seen it, and once you know how to do that and you've done it, come back to here and I'll show you exactly how to pull it all back together again. So first things first, whack a bit of lube on it. As we all know, like a bit of lube. Stick a bit of grease on, and then get that diff back in that housing. So a bit of grease, wipe off the excess. You don't want loads and loads on it, it's just going to spray everywhere. So wipe off the excess, and then stick it back in. Again, you've got that nib on this side as well, so you can't get it in the wrong way, so you're not going to end up with wheels going different directions. Run that grease round, just work it around. And once you're happy with it, get the diff housing and the bracing. Get the diff housing in first. Lift it up, push it in, so drop in nice and easy, and just push down, fit comfortable, and then slide the bracing back in from the right hand side through to the left. It all should fit in perfectly, nice and snug. Should be no snags on it. And once you've done that, turn it over. You want to stick those 2 screws in first, which go into the support struts that sit over the steering. So first screw, get that one in, and then get the second screw, nice and tight, both of them. And then we want to screw the 4 screws back into the differential housing on the underside. So get those 4 screws screwed back in. That's the first one. That's the last one. So them 4 all in. And once you've got them 4, flip it back over. And then grab both your steering assemblies, because I'm going to put my steering assemblies on first. So grab your first one. So the end of the steering rod should still have the screw in it. Screw that back in. And do that on both sides. Then once you've done both sides, got them screwed in nice, then there's 2 screws in the steering brace that you want to stick in. So there's one to the left hand side of that red bar and one on the other side. That's it, just so you know exactly where they are. I'll show you. So those 2, just in front of the gyro. One there, one there. Get those 2 in. That completes the steering bracing. And once that's done, we're going to get the body mount. 2 screws for that. Stick that back on. There's not that much left to do. So what we're going to do next is going to start getting the suspension, the lower suspension arms back on. So you've got 2 silver pins, what we took out earlier. We want to grab both of those, and we're going to start installing. And you just got to line everything up a little bit. So you get the dog bones in, or CVDs, get the CVDs lined up. You get the bottom suspension arms lined up, and just basically just push it back through. It's not held in with nothing. It will sit there quite loose. And it will go in quite easy, to be honest with you. So there you go. Just that's one in. Quite easy. That's what it looks like from the underside. Push it in so it sticks out about 5-6 mil. and that's it. Doesn't screw in, doesn't do anything else, just literally just push it straight in. You can see it easier from the underside, to be honest, and just sits like that. So turn it back over, and next part what I'm going to show you is basically you don't have to do it. Some people do it, some people don't do it. I always do it, and basically your CVD joint, which is just inside there, you can put a bit of oil in there, but I always tend to take them out and take the wheels off and put a little bit of oil where the shaft goes through the bearing. You don't have to do that, guys. You can literally put the car on the side and you can put a tiny bit of oil, dab a bit of oil on the CVD joint, or you can just leave it exactly as it is. I think I've explained it again either in this video or in another video that I've done, like part 1 of this one. And basically, I mean, it's going to get dusty anyway. No matter where you use it, you're going to get dust in these joints. I prefer to have a little bit of lube in there just to help it out, really, to be honest. I mean, dust is going to wear it out. Sand is going to wear it out. If you've got a little bit of lubrication in there, is it going to hurt it? Probably not. Will a little bit more dust and bits and pieces get attracted to it? Probably, but I mean, it's all maintenance, guys. These are 130, 30, 40 pound cars. And regardless of the price, it's all down to maintenance. You got to look after these things. If you're driving in sand or dusty areas, you're going to expect to get dust and sand everywhere. So you're just going to have to bring it home, give it a good clean up. So it's just one of them things. It's you either do it or you don't. If you get dust in there, it will wear out quicker. If you get sand in there, it will wear out a lot quicker. I kind of think, like I just said, stick a bit of lubrication in there. It may not wear out as quicker, but it might attract a bit more dust. But again, maintenance is key, so maintain them, and they should last a little bit longer. So once you've done this wheel, get the other wheel done. I'm going to skip that process for the time being. I've actually done it on the car, but just for the video's purpose. If you want to pause the video, you know exactly what to do on that one. So take the dog bone out, CVD joint rather, take that out, give it a little bit of a re-grease, grease up where it goes through the bearing, and then once you've done that and you put it all back together, you should end up with something like this. And line the shock tower, not the shock towers, line the top suspension arms up, and you want to get the shock tower with the 2 pins in, and just literally line it up best as you can and push it on. And that is your kind of suspension arms all installed back in place. Steering's in, suspension arms are back on, and you probably know what's going to come next. So 4 small screws and secure that tower. So that shock tower, get these 4 screws, screw them in. Nice and tight. Don't over tighten. Just want to put them in so they start gripping. When they start to get a little bit tight, just stop. Don't over tighten. It's all good. Get all 4 of those screws in, and then you want to get the mother of all screws, which is that screw that goes into that center red brace. You want to get that one in. So the one that goes in the middle there. Don't put anything on it, guys. No Loctite, no nothing. Just leave it exactly as it is. Screw it back in. Again, want to grab your PH2 screw head and just make sure you do this one up. Again, not extremely tight. You want to get it back out again, but just do it up so it's tight. You probably get an idea of how tight I do it just by watching. So as soon as it starts to grip, which is about now, or slip, so as soon as it starts to grip, just give it, see that, just button it up a little tiny bit extra. Perfect. And that's ready for the shocks to go back on. So you know where the shocks go because you could put the screws in the same places. So to remove the screws, Again, same as I said in part 1, there's a small sleeve that goes through where the screws go in the shocks, so you want to put the screw into the back of it. That's it. So you've got the shock, and then you've got the little sleeve, and then the screw goes in. So exactly how I'm putting it back in, that's how you want it. So it's like a little spacer. It's a little bit fiddly actually getting these back in. Once you got it in, it goes pretty easy. So you want to do is, easy way to do it is get the tops of the 2 shocks while you've got the car this way up. Get both of these shocks screwed in. So you do the top of the 2 shocks first, and then turn the car upside down. It just makes it a little bit easier. And you pop them screws out and do exactly the same on the bottom. As you can see, you've got the sleeve pointing towards the suspension arm. That's it. And now that should be your suspension all working. So you just got the front bumper to put on. Perfect. Grab that front bumper. Remember, you've got the 2 dome head screws sticking out there. Screw them screws up. Once you've got them screws screwed in, you should have 2 screws left in your little pot, and they are the countersunk ones. So turn the car upside down, your last 2 screws, 2 small countersunk screws on the opposite sides of where these ones go. Turn it over. Them 2 holes right there. And that should be you guys then, all wrapped up, finished. Last 2 screws going in. Once that's done, that is turn out the right way. Stick the battery back in it, stick the dust cover on, whack the body on, and that's it, guys. Differentials oiled, everything greased up and oiled where it should be done with the correct oils in. And I know I keep on saying this, but I'm just going to say it again. Maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. Guys, look after these. They'll look after you and have plenty of fun with them for ages and ages. And I just ask for one thing, that you just give this video a like. And if you enjoy what I'm doing, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on the next one.